something hit me as I was sat here earlier, and I talked about how life's a game, and you can liken it to a computer game where your character attracts what you are. Like, you are a fighting person in this game in real life, and then you're going to attract the fighters, and people will want to fight you. If you're a good person, you keep on doing good, then the good comes to you also. You know, you're going to meet negative people along the way. It's a game after all. Everyone's in here together. And it led me to this idea as I was sitting, because I saw a response from wifey number one, Perry Rose, and she said, she was talking about something similar. She probably made it up. I mean, like, you won't have that discussion with me. But she, that's not her watching. But what I would say is this, and I talked about how we can shape our world previously, and I really think it's possible. And if I explain this and break it down, maybe it'll make sense to you as well, and it'll help you to, I think, improve you as a better person, and to also change your surroundings. Now, it doesn't mean that your surroundings are necessarily going to change for the good or the positive, but you'll feel good about yourself. And I think when you feel good about yourself, then the world around you doesn't look as bad as it was. If you think everything's rubbish and you sit there and you think crime's high and there's too many immigrants and women should be in a certain role and so on, and you're being completely negative about something, you're just going to keep on seeing that because that's what you're looking for. But if you tell yourself, wow, you know, the world is a good place, there are good people, you start seeing those good people. And not only that, because you're seeing those good people, now you're able to make contact with those people, and those people become part of your life. Now, to make major changes is quite jarring and it's quite difficult. But if you make the changes incrementally and you keep making the small changes, then the change happens. And a lot of people want changes too fast. They want to be rich tomorrow. They want to own a house, a car. They want to succeed at work. And those things don't happen overnight. And when you place those things into smaller categories, keep reducing, and then you take those challenges and those tasks on as they are, and you make those small changes, then it's causal. It has an effect on the future, because the future hasn't happened yet, but you're moving towards it. And people say to me, for instance, but you're lucky though. And I'm like, no. My sister says this more than I do, even though we both shared exactly the same idea. There's no such thing as luck. It's really you being prepared for opportunity. So I sit there and I'm reading. I was reading computer books before I even understood them. I never understood anything. I was fascinated, but I was thinking, well, I don't get this. But I just kept reading them anyway. And the future happened. Computers became the next biggest thing, and I was so ready for it. Anyone who wanted to know anything about computers, by the time I was 19, I could tell them. And there weren't a lot of computers about. By the time I was 21, what didn't I know? By the time I was 25, it was like, wow. I was interested since a 9-year-old. I got into them by 15, 16 years old. And by 25, it's like, what didn't I know? You know, and I'm exaggerating, just riff out, little trumpet blow. But let me just check the mic. Okay, 1, 2. But you know, I was ready for this, and this happens in all walks of life. You can't just say, oh man, I wish I could do that. You have to incrementally work your way to achieving those things, and they happen. Now, let me explain my little thing about how you can make those minor changes actually work for you, and how it can affect your immediate world. Now, those things don't have an impact on the entire world, even though they can. And this is why the world won't change fast enough, because people don't have the belief that we can make a change to the world, because they think, well, what can I do about the war? But the point is, you can make the changes locally, and everyone else around you can start making those changes, and then the net effect is everyone grows, and that becomes a force to reckon with. And then the others places, if you imagine, units start taking heed, and everyone changes, and it has an effect directly on something on a grand scale. Passing a law for your whole country for equal rights, for opportunities for women to vote, those things didn't happen overnight. They happened incrementally. It wasn't like Emmeline or Christabel Pankhurst, and there are other players, names escape me, but they're the most famous that you'd know. Suddenly said, we want the women's vote, changed themselves to, you know, to the railings. They fought police, they smashed windows, they were violent. Do you know what I mean? That's the only way to make change. Not the only. Take that back. That's a good way to make change. You know, you just break the laws. The laws are there to protect those people who make the laws to hold you in place anyway. So what happens is, they just kept fighting and fighting, and then they picked up traction. And one of the suffragettes was killed. She was run over by a horse. It's when she, they tried to interrupt one of the derbies. I forget which one it was. And there were sacrifices made, and it doesn't mean there has to be. But let me explain those changes, okay? And this is on one unit, on one person, and it's not specific. It's going to make it generic, okay? I think the world's a terrible place. I'm not very fond of Greek people. I, wish I could get that job as a computer graphics designer, doing computer graphics for games. And if I just sit there wishing for them and hating on people, all of those things are going to exist as they are. Me not being that, and those people who have done me no harm and don't mean bad. I had a bad experience with a Greek person. Now I hate Greek people. And this is one of the things that black people have to carry, by the way, and it annoys me. If you see a young black kid with his trousers pulled down and, like a vest on, smoking and acting bad, people go, black people. That's black people. When you see a white person doing that, it's like, oh, that's a redneck or that's a... And then, we categorise them. They don't mean everything for everyone anyway. Back to the main point. So what I do is I start reading books about computer graphics. I start looking online. Let's keep it modern. And, I start thinking to myself, right, okay, I have to gain this knowledge. And as I'm gaining the knowledge, I need to buy more books. So I go to the bookshops. Now I'm putting myself out there. In the bookshop, the woman stood beside me, takes a book. I say, oh, I've got that book at home. We've made a connection, right? You start making connections when you start putting yourself into those places which are going to assist you with who you want to be. And this happened to me a lot. I read so many books. I used to buy books all the time. And it was a costly affair, but I used to get the good jobs by then in computers. And, books were costing 34, 44, £50 a time. But I was reading them and reading them. I learned a lot from the library as well, free of charge. That's another place to place yourself for education. And talking to people, going to computer clubs and going out of the house. Rather than saying, oh, but you don't understand my anxiety. It's like, it's not yours, you don't own it. You're being anxious right now. Get some books about anxiety. Talk to other people who say they're anxious as well. And understand what you have in common. And wow, yeah, I'm like this and that. And then you start understanding that what you have isn't necessarily a crutch. It's just a certain behaviour. And now I know there's some extreme cases, and I'm not talking about those once again. I'll get back on point in a minute. But you have to be able to be strong in the game of life. This is what this is all about being in that game. It's like likening it to a computer game to say, this is my character. I have control over my character. There's no one else playing the game. That's a joystick. Joysticks of old, okay? You have control over your life. So you are the ones who have to start making the changes and saying, how do I get to the end of this level? And then you understand that you being anxious isn't necessarily the issue, but it's you claiming that your anxiety is preventing you from doing anything. That's where the issue is. And now you have to find a way to overcome that. Just saying that you can't do it isn't good enough. And I'm not putting anyone down. I use the term and say people are weak and so on, but I don't truly believe people are bad for that. They're being weak. They're not weak like I just said the person doesn't own the anxiety. They're having a weak moment. They're being weak. They're exhibiting those characteristics, but it's not who they are. So, what those people have to do now is find a way, and there's always a way. Like in every game, there's a hidden treasure. There's a maze. There's something for you to go through and to a challenge, a task of a kind, and you complete that because you're a smart, intelligent human being. You're here. We're survivors for all the tragedies. For all of the tragedies that have ever happened in the world. And this is what I say to everyone. You're here. We're here. There was a war. There was a famine. Millions killed. There was a genocide. Millions. People's grandparents. But ours survived. And you could argue, but they weren't there. Yes, they were. Do you know what I mean? My parents are really close to their lives being ended through the acts of violence and racism. Some of your parents through acts of violence and, racism or misogyny or just, I don't know what the term is, but, like one country hating another hate, And they killed people and they killed millions of people. But your parents and their parents and their parents and their parents and got you to here. And for you to simply say, oh, life's shit. Oh, I'm my anxiety. I am cruel about it sometimes, but I don't mean it on a deeper level, or that, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. You are the weakest link, and you're going to be the part of the chain that breaks, that doesn't permit the survival of the next in your lineage. I've got 5 kids, and they're all strong and fit. Man, I'm a survivor. And when I die, I know that I've caused something beyond me to live on. And you can do the same for all those people. I know the younger people especially, who I've seen from teenagers, now they've got families and they're strong and they're confident and they've got work and they're, having some bad days sometimes, and they may talk about it, but they're not suffering. They're saying, life's tough, but I'm fighting. And their lineage continues. Now, on that personal level, back to that again, what happens is, in the game, okay, I'm going to keep calling it a game, this is life. As I said, I'm sat here, I don't like Greek people, and I want to get a job as a graphics designer. So I've started reading the books, and I've started learning more about life and people. Not only that, I've started travelling. Now, all of this is ableist, okay? I'm talking about a person who can go out, who has no ailments, no illnesses, and so on. And that leads me to another thing, and I'll keep on coming back to this. And complain to me in the comments, if you will, because it's how I'm viewing things. It's not what I truly believe, and I'm trying to make this up as I go along. The world is as it is as such, okay? And if we are the strong people, why do we even have to take along the weak people in order for us to survive? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to slow down? Why would I want to hinder my progress, okay? That out of the way. But I'm not that person. And that's what slows me down sometimes. But then they're going to think, I'm not even slowed down. This is where I am, and this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm at. So I keep talking about the people who have less, the people who are not as strong, the people who are not as smart. And none of these things are necessarily true, except for the really obvious ones. People who've got chronic anxiety, people who, lost a limb, people who are in a deep depression and so on. I get that. But what I'm saying is I could just carry on moving. My lineage is fine, and it has been for the longest time. We're survivors. Your lineage, your parent had problems. They've passed that on to you, and now you're telling everyone how the world's shit and how you don't want to get on the anxiety and ADHD and everything's a hindrance for you, and how you can't play a guitar and how you can't play the piano, how you don't want to take part in any activities, and how, nothing means anything to you. So, well, why should I even stop and listen to your story? Okay? But I'm willing to. And I keep saying to you, you can do this, and you can, and you have to believe in yourself, because you're the only one who holds the key to you moving forwards. You're the only one who holds the key to your success. So, in the game, now, back to me. I'm there, and I think I started reading the books. I've started meeting people. I've started meeting people in the coffee shop. You can do this all while being, not being fully, able-bodied and so on. And you can find the strength, as I've just expressed, to tell yourself you're able to do it, to get to those places, knowing that if you go to those places, they can be the changes. And the changes are what I'm going to talk about now. So, I've gone to that. I start meeting people. The woman beside me who's reading the book I talked about, she happens to be a Greek woman. I'm like, oh, well, she's different because I'm ignorant like that, okay? And then suddenly I realised, wow, not all Greek people are bad. I've got this thing about Greek people, and I meet her friends. We become friends. We start hanging out and sharing knowledge, and she's smarter than I am. So I'm picking her brains, and she's allowing it. She's helping with my graphics knowledge, and it's great to have that human help. Everything's changed for me. My future was here, my past now, and now it's here. And not only have I befriended a Greek person and understanding that Greek people aren't that bad, but I'm also getting knowledge, which kind of exaggerates my trust and my love for the Greek people. And I'm in a new place, and I'm closer to the future that I wanted, because I have half the knowledge I need to become that graphics design or graphics, computer graphics designer that I wanted to be. And my world has changed. Everything's changing. This process is over 3 years. It didn't happen overnight. This is a kind of made-up story, but people were like, oh, yeah, but, I want this tomorrow. And it's like, no. Let's say I was 21 when that happened. I'm now 24 and a half years old. I have a love for Greek people and Greek food, okay? I've got so much knowledge about what I wanted to be. I forget what the third thing I said was. I was negative towards women, but, also this has changed me with the woman to 2 for the price of 1. And I'm moving forwards. And not only that, because I don't harbour these deep hates, other people who meet me think this guy's all right, because I'm not saying negative shit anymore. Like, oh yeah, I love computers, but I don't think women should be able to work with them or are as good as the men are. I'm not saying that shit anymore. So for the people who were invisible to me before, who just didn't like me after hearing me once, or seeing my manner and my demeanour, because it all wears out. It shows in your face and your body, your movement, your language, everything. I'm more attractive to them. And I don't mean in a relationship or sexual way, but it means that I'm more approachable. So now I've changed everything about me and my future. So now I'm moving to the future in the game, and my confidence is built, and I apply for that job. And you know what happens? I didn't get it because I wasn't good enough yet. So that didn't hurt me or harm me. I'm like, I've got to keep on trying. So I keep on learning. And then I look about what's required for these jobs, because I just applied for a job. I was like, oh yeah, I've got some skills, I can do this. But now I'm like, what is actually required? And I looked at the requirements for, what, I'm lacking there and there. I need to complete these to complete this level. So I keep on learning, keep on practicing that. And as I get better at that, I apply for the next job, and you know what happens? I get it. I've got the job. Greek people are the same as everyone else to me. I don't say negative things about the women anymore. And my whole life has changed. You know how long it took? 4 years. 4 years, that's all. A lifetime's like 80 years, You can go before that, I know. But 4 years, that's all. And now I'm in the place that I want it to be. And now I become a teacher for the people who used to be like me. And I tell them, you won't get far with the hate, you won't get far without studying, you won't get far with not acknowledging other people who you think are lesser than you. Make those changes, make yourself a better person, be a better person, do better, love better, and everything changes for you. It's really just that simple. That's how you play the game. I've seen people sit there on a computer game, they know everything, left, right, just how hard to hit the joystick, to move up and down, to do everything, and they can work their way through the game. And then you say to them, what are you doing in life? Oh, I don't know, and then they tell you what their problems are, and it's like, if you applied the energy that you apply to the games you played to the game, because it's a game within a game, then you'll always succeed. It really is that simple. And this is the way that I've got through in life. I've had my problems. It's not about having a perfect life, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. They're like, oh, well, you talk about, doing everything wonderfully and having a good time, having a good life and so on, but yeah, you run out of money. I'm like, I didn't say it means you don't run out of money. All it means is that you're content in yourself. Believe me, I've got no money and I'm content, so it doesn't matter. And when I get the money, I'm still content anyway because of the contentment I bought through other means, but now I also have money. And the money is important. Like now I've got roller skates that require wheels, and I can't afford to buy wheels. And I'm like, a little bit gutted about it because I feel like my legs are getting weak. They're not, but I'm exaggerating in my head. Oh, my legs are going to get weak. I won't be able to walk and function in a couple of weeks. But I've set myself a target. I said I'm going to get new wheels in 3 months, and I'll get those wheels. And I'll just return. But it's a 3-month journey, and that's what I need to complete that level. And this is what I keep talking about. Everything is levels, whether they're up, whether they're side quests, whether you have to go down into the abyss, into the caverns. And you go in and you take those challenges on. It's all a game. And if you treat it like a game, and I don't mean treat it easy, because games aren't easy, then you succeed, you keep moving forwards and you keep on winning. The only thing I think it causes for me in my life is envy from some people. People want you to fall over for some reason. I know what the reason is. They're not doing well in life, and they don't know how to play the game that well because they've not understood yet that they are controlling the game. They have everything in their power to win the game. And in order, we all enter the game at the same line, but with different abilities. You can't walk, you can't talk, you can't see, you can't, whatever, but you've all got to move forwards and see how you do. But lucky for me, I'm strong enough and confident enough to say, I have everything I need. And then someone says to me, oh, you're ADHD. Oh, you're autistic. Oh, you're black. You're tall. You're skinny. You're stupid. And they keep on trying to add these, disabilities. But unless I own the disability, unless I create the disability, unless I believe in that disability, they can't exist for me. And that's what a lot of people won't understand. Oh, I can't do that. And then they'll tell you, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You have that. But you have to play the game with that. It's not a disability. It's not like the game's fair and the people without whatever you have an advantage. They've got something else that you don't have. and so on. And there are some slight advantages I'll concede to that, because we've created, for the people who are able, and when I say able, the people who have created the game or created many obstacles within the game, because they're part of the game too, okay? You know, they've got all the wealth. It's like they started playing Monopoly, got all the wealth, and said, right, let's change the game now. And, right, it's a game, you've got to climb the mountains and caverns, and you've got to do all this hard stuff. And they've already gone past that, okay? So I'll concede there's that, but that's not how the game started. Which is why sometimes we say, let's go back. Let's take things back to the future, you know. And I think, no, we don't take them back. We take them forwards to that, to what things were. And now we're armed with more knowledge, we're armed with new tools and so on, and we try and make a more of a level playing field. And what happens is, those people who keep on complaining, you say to them, yes, we understand that the rules have changed. It's going to be a little bit more difficult with you because you claim that your ADHD is hampering you. Do something that people with ADHD do better. Don't try and be like me, who doesn't have it and thinks, I'm going to go and get a job. I'm working with people. I have to understand really complex rules and I mustn't be distracted and I'm going to be a surgeon. You can't be a surgeon. Do you know what I mean? And when I say can't, I don't mean truly. I mean, that's not what you necessarily should be aiming for. Because whatever you have and you claiming it's hampering you means that you won't be able to do it. But if you wanted to be the surgeon with your ADHD, go and be the surgeon. Do you know what I mean? And you change the rules. And say, some days or during the months, my hands aren't so steady or I find I have problems, and make them make a place for you with your unableness, okay? And so that's what I say to people. In England, for instance, England's really racist. It really is racist, okay? But as well as the racism, the non-racist are the finest people on the planet. I posted a story the other day in the Second World War when black soldiers weren't allowed into a pub in Wales and the landlord barred American white soldiers from coming in, served the black soldiers, and it led to an actual fight, and some black soldiers were killed. British people, you lose me for 4 seconds. 3, 4. British people who care are the best people in the world. Yes, I said it, you know. But I think, you know, in general, because of the wealth of the country and all the conquests, it's a really racist country, you know? Like, they just hate everybody. And even non-white English people have been very anglicised. They hate everybody too because they've been, you know, like, they've got that mentality. And I shouldn't have succeeded in England. I should have just, Britain shit, it holds everyone down. They don't give any fairness. They treat me really bad. I have to work twice as hard as everyone. Who's working at the BBC? Who's working, doing contracts with Elizabeth Hirsch, who was one of the biggest internet companies of its time in 1996? Me. And teams, an Indian guy, English guy, women, men, we built it. And we've done it. And I'm not talking about easing it. I didn't build that. I've done a hell of a lot of hard work. They treated me like shit. I'm poor, and they all made tons of money. But I've let that go. It hurt me for a little while. But in Telefest, which we sold to Poppy Tyson in the end, you know, everybody got rich from that. I didn't get the richest like everyone else, but we had a fucking good team. Every endeavour I've taken part in as a black man in racist Britain, I did it because I didn't play the game by saying I am disabled because of my colour. I said I have to play this game, but I'm just going to learn what's needed to take these roles on, and I've done them, and I won. I got to the next level, and the next level, and the next level, and the next level, and in the end I thought, I don't really like it here anyway. You know, it gets up to a certain level, and everything seems corrupt, and everything seems not to be serving any good. That was my ignorance too, by the way, because I'm not perfect. I realised you could have worked for Greenpeace, you could have worked for, like, Save the Animals, you could have worked for women's rights, you could have worked for black... You could have done all of those things with your knowledge, but I didn't know at the time. I thought the money, you had to follow the money, and I kind of followed that. So I ended up in the city, I ended up in West London, I ended up in Soho, I ended up in, you know, in the corrupt parts. And then in the end I just gave up on it. And when I say gave up, not like quit, but I just said, I don't want to do this. I want to live free as I can. And that's why I'm kind of financially poor in many ways. But the contentment I have outweighs it by far. Anyway, the point of that is to say that you can do it. You can do it. Hello, D. Good to see you there, mate. I didn't see you were in. Thanks for your support as well, D. People like you in the game of life, you realise, listen, I like what this guy's doing. Let me help him. you know. And when I find something I can return to you, if I can, I will. But if I can't, all the goodness that you're giving to me, I'm going to pass on to someone else. It always works that way, you know. You can't hold on to everything. It's like me. I need some bread, and you give me, someone's given me the 2 loaves, and then you come over and go, look, here's another 2, and I'm like, wow, thank you so much, but I'm going to give 2 to my neighbour. And, you know, that's all part of the game as well. If I took them all home, and there's a little scenario I painted a while ago, you could put free bread out in the street and say, take as much bread as you need, and some people would take 20 loaves, and you're like, they're going to go stale before you can eat them. You know, you haven't even got enough space in your freezer to freeze them all. You're going to end up throwing that away. Why don't you just take 2 loaves? You know? And you say, look, we're here a week, so take 2 loaves. And when they're finished in 3 days' time, go back and take another 2 loaves. And that's all you need, and that's all you can actually manage. But to go like, wow, free bread and take all 20, it doesn't work. So, D, you're feeding me. You're giving me bread right now, and I'm grateful for it. You know, I think we've got very similar minds. I think we express ourselves very differently, but we've got the very same message, which is why we can easily see, well, you know, each other in each other. And that's the game as well. That's part of the game. So the game has to be played. And it doesn't mean it's childish. Oh, it's a game. Life's not a game. It's really difficult. No one said it was easy. It's a game, though. And you have to find how you're going to make your rules to get through all the obstacles in order to succeed. And you will succeed. And your success is based on whatever you think that is, not what anyone else thinks. If you want to be a photographer, go and do photography. No matter what your parents and friends say. If you want to paint little clay cottages and hopefully sell those on, do that. But don't think that you have to go out and get the career what everyone else is doing, or the job everyone else is doing, or just fit in. Do what you want, make the rules for the levels, and you'll just keep on progressing. And to get back to what I started with at the very beginning, they're very small causal changes, and they take time. If you're a fast mover and a quick learner, it can be a shorter time, and you can take larger steps. You know, you can say, you know, I can jump from here to here quite quickly, and from here to here quickly. I'm one of those people, I really do believe, and, you know, I've heard it since I was a child. Oh, you're a very quick learner. You picked that very quick. I just look at stuff. I always say I'm a reductionist. I look at it, I go, yeah, that makes sense to me. And boom, I start doing it. People are like, wow, yeah, that's the fastest I've seen someone learn that. And I've grown up with that kind of confidence. So I can take the larger steps. And there's some people who can take larger steps than I can. So it's not about, you know, being the best or anything. And there's people who have to take the smaller steps, and we have to be kinder to them, because they're like, oh, you know, that person's slow. It's like, no, they just think differently to you, and they're playing their game. So if you think you're high and mighty, and you're smart, and you're clever, and you're ahead of the game, slow down occasionally, and pull the other people along with you. They're not necessarily behind or below you. They're just in a different place. Take them with you. Or, you know, to their next place rather, not, you know, with you know, you're different places, and hopefully that we can have a good time, because you can get back to where you was, because you're smart, you know, as you like to think. It's just that we're different. So, to end this, I'll just say, it's all a game. Play the game because you make the rules. Don't listen to anyone else's rules. There's all these rules around us, as I explained earlier, about the rich who have kind of played Monopoly, then changed the rules, and they're on the other side of the mountains and the troughs, you know, and now we're fighting amongst ourselves. But when you realise you have the power, and everyone else around you has the power to make the local changes first, you make those local changes, and they spread. It's that simple. Me and Dee, we're both very different people. You know, just use a really obvious example. Probably different creed, different colour, you know, and we don't believe in this colour bar, you know, we just like, boom, we just get on and we do things anyway, but just for the, you know, observers. But if you saw us together, you'd go, wow, that's good, isn't it? Look at those two getting on, you know, wow. And then whatever we do when we join, the observers see it. Someone else goes, wow, I can do that, and they join. And next thing, you've got this growth of everybody, but we're living in fear and saying that we can't do it and that we can't play the game. The game's too hard, the game's too rigged. Yes, you're not wrong, the game is rigged, but you can still play the game, and you can still get to wherever it is you want to be. But I say to everyone, rather than you trying to win, you fuck the game up. You may have seen this in films where the loneliness of the no, I don't think it happens in that film. But that's a great film, by the way. If ever you get a chance, the loneliness of the long distance runner, the loneliness of the long distance runner. Fantastic British film, rebellion, to the core. But you see a film where someone's going to win a race, and they can win the race, but in order to piss the people off who are controlling them, who are going to maybe win a lot of money, they take the hand of the other person and they cross the line together. Do you know what I mean? Or they let the other person win. And that's what we can do. That's how we interrupt the game. We stop playing, we stop paying, we stop watching everything that they keep on feeding us, and we watch each other and we talk to each other and we communicate with each other and be good to each other, and then that's what makes a change. But the fear is preventing us. Okay. Yep, sorry Dave, I didn't see you was off. Take care, mate. So, yeah. On that note, I just want to say, in order to achieve those amazing things, you have to be an amazing person. You are an amazing person. And I am no good, Jay.